This thing on? It is. All right. Welcome back to the channel. I'm DaRock, and we are here with another college basketball predictions video, just like we do every weekend, going through all the top games here. Going to do a little bit different format today with some of the graphics you'll see here on the screen. Just do want to shout out Haslametrics and Superfan Sports. That's where you're going to see these graphics from. So before I give my picks, make sure to like the video if you enjoy this kind of content. Subscribe to the channel. If you're a college basketball fan of any level, there's a lot of good games here before March. I'm going to be the ones going through them, and let's get into it. So we start here with the game to watch on Friday. The 8-9 Providence Friars head to the 11-7 Creighton Blue Jays. This one's at 6:30 Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. So Creighton, coming off a win during the week. They're led by Josh Dix. He's their leading scorer, averaging 12 points per game. But Austin Swartz has had a lot of good games lately for the Blue Jays as well, scoring 11.6, as you can see there. On the Providence side, they got a lot of high-scoring guys. Stephon Vox is their go-to guy, averaging 14 points per game, but both Sellers and Edwards averaging 17 and nearly 16 respectively. So a lot of guys here in this front court for the Friars that can fill the bucket. So just kind of looking at some of the different stats here. Both these teams pretty similar here efficiency-wise, offensively. Both teams, can shoot the ball at a pretty similar clip, around 47% from the field, 36% from beyond the arc. Creighton a little bit more effective here in the mid-range, as well as the paint in the paint. So these are two teams, you can see here the projections, 83-81 Providence. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring one. Both these teams have guys that can score, but in all honesty, I just like Creighton's go-to guys a little bit more. I mean, this one being at Providence, maybe that home court could matter. This is definitely a game that the Friars need if they're going to have any shot of being a tournament team. But I just like the Blue Jays better. I don't know, maybe a little bit of bias here, but I'm going to go with Creighton to take this one. Then moving on to Saturday, we have the 16th ranked Virginia Cavaliers, 15-2 on the year, heading to the 13-4 SMU Mustangs. This one's going to be at noon Eastern on ESPN2. So SMU coming off a crazy win at the buzzer against Virginia Tech. Boopy Miller hitting a half-court heave, with then the pyrotechnics guy nailing, the execution there right after. That was just an insane shot, insane clip. Why you can't wait till March to watch college basketball. So definitely check that one out if you missed it live. On the Virginia side, DeRitter's their leading scorer with 16 points per game, as well as then Thomas goes for 13, White with 10, Lewis with 10, and Mallory with 10 as well. So a lot of different guys that score for Virginia, unlike SMU, where it's kind of Boopy Miller's the go-to guy, but even Pierre going for 17, and Edwards going for 13. So Boopy Miller definitely the go-to scorer for the Mustangs, but they also have a lot of high-quality guards as well. Looking here at the ratings, Virginia is the more efficient team, 6th ranked in the country efficiency here, according to Haslametrics. Other notable ones, they shoot the ball a little bit higher clip. SMU shoots the ball a little bit higher clip, 50% to Virginia's 48. Similar three-point shooting teams. These are two teams, they do play, pretty similar styles. Both can score. The projection here has a 79-73 win for Virginia. And I don't know, this is one that I think it's going to be another close game. I mean, you see SMU pulling out a crazy one at the beginning of the week, but Virginia had a really nice win at Louisville. Just really kind of dominated that one. So now they go here on the road once again. But I am going to go with the Cavaliers, take this one. I think they're the better team. Virginia, honestly, kind of sneaky underrated. Like you're seeing, there are only 2 losses here on the year. I guess is up to the 16th ranked team in the country, but definitely not a team I've talked about as much in the ACC, but I think they could do some serious damage, and I think they get this win here. Then next, moving on to the Big Ten, we have the 12-5 UCLA Bruins heading to the 11-5 Ohio State Buckeyes. This one's at 1 Eastern Time on CBS. So on the Ohio State side, they're led by Bruce Thornton, going for over 20 points per game, as well as nearly 4 assists. And then Royal and Mobley averaging over 13 as well, close to 14. And then Tilly, their center, also with close to 12 and 5 rebounds. On the UCLA side, Donovan Dent going for 12 points per game with 6 assists, but Tyler Bilodeau, their leading scorer, 17.7 points per game. And then Sky Clark also with 13, and then Daly and Perry in double digits as well for the Bruins. So a lot of guys that can fill the buckets here for both teams. Ohio State, the slightly more efficient team here, in the 17th highest rated efficiency here on Haslametrics. Looking at the shooting splits, pretty even. Ohio State shoots the ball slightly better from the field, but UCLA, this slightly better shooting team beyond the arc. This is one, you're seeing here, score in the 70s. I do think these are two pretty evenly matched teams. But Ohio State, I do think, is slightly better. Plus, they're being here at home. And I just think Ohio State, they played a lot of teams closely. They played Nebraska close, played Illinois close. I think they're experienced. In UCLA, you've just kind of seen it with them and a lot of these West Coast Big Ten teams having to travel across the country. It just really hasn't fared as well. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Ohio State to get the win in this one. Then moving on to the Big Ten, we have the 12-5 Iowa Hawkeyes heading to the 12-5 Indiana Hoosiers. This one's at 2 Eastern time on Fox. Projected to be a close one here. 73-72 Indiana is what Haslametrics has in this one. The Hoosiers, their leading scorer, Lamar Wilkerson, guy that can really fill the bucket, as well as Tyler DeVries averaging 14 points per game, and Connor Way going for nearly 12, and then Bailey with 10. On the Iowa side, Bennett Sturtz, their leader, averaging, as you can see there, nearly 18 points per game with 5 assists as well. And then he's their only double-digit scorer. So he's kind of, the offense goes through Sturtz, and you can see, if you watch their Purdue game over during the week, Iowa, when they headed to Purdue, looked like they were going to pull that one out. It was a really close game, could have really gone either way, but Purdue ended up being the better side in that one. It's just one of those, it's kind of, can Bennett Sturtz just willed this Hawkeye team to wins? And even then, still, when he's superhuman, sometimes it's still just not enough. You saw that during the week here. So I think it's going to be a really fun match between him and Wilkerson. I think both those guys are really guys that just, they score at a really high clip. Looking at the efficiency here, both these teams very efficient. Indiana ranked 9th on Haslametrics, and Iowa ranked 26th, but just a lot better than Indiana's defensive efficiency there. So, like I said, I do think this can be one pretty high scoring. You're seeing low 70s with the score. Honestly, I kind of like it to maybe be even higher than that. Just the way, both these teams can shoot, 37% from beyond the arc. But I don't know, I just kind of like Indiana's scores a little bit more than Iowa's. And in a high-scoring game like that, I think that matters. So give me the Hoosiers to take this one. Then moving on to the SEC, we have the 11-6 Kentucky Wildcats heading to the 24th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers, who are 12-5 on the year. This one's at noon Eastern time on ESPN. So the Volunteers, led by Jacoby Gillespie, going for 18 points per game with 5 assists. And then Nate Ament is their go-to big with 15 points per game. And as you're seeing there, over 6 rebounds. Felix Okpara, also another solid guy for the Volunteers, scores 7 a game with over 5 rebounds. My apologies. Same thing, I meant 6 rebounds. On the Kentucky side, it's Otega Owe scoring 15 points per game, as well as 4 assists, as well as Denzel Aberdeen, another double-digit score for the Wildcats, 11.6 points per game. Moreno hit the game winner in Kentucky's win at LSU at the buzzer. He's scoring 9 points per game with 6 rebounds. So that was a really fun play to watch. They pulled off the Christian Laettner play, which Duke pulled on Kentucky back in the day. So good to see the Wildcats being on the right side of that one. Another big kind of thing for Kentucky in this one is Jaden Lowe and Jalen Quintains are out. Quintains for the year, and then Lowe's for a while as well. But honestly, it's one of those things we've seen with some of these injuries here in college basketball this year, where almost having those guys kind of out of the lineup but still playing, it's honestly kind of hurt Kentucky more than I think it's helped them. It's just kind of, they haven't been able to find their rhythm. So I am excited to see how they play here without those two guys. Like I said, squeaked by LSU over during the week after, they were down by 18 points at one point in that game, though. So it was an impressive comeback for Kentucky, and ended up, getting the win. Then on the Tennessee side, they won in double overtime. Nice win against Texas A&M. Really had to battle that one out at home. Keeps, their SEC streak rolling after a nice win at Texas or against Texas last week, and then bouncing back from a big loss to Florida over the weekend. These are two teams that I would say have kind of underperformed as well. Like I said, Nate Ament's kind of starting to get going here more for Tennessee, but I've been a little disappointed in him. But he has been playing better as of late. Kentucky, like I said, now that they have those two guys out of the lineup, can they, gel a little bit better? I think this should be a fun one, but this is one where I do think home court matters, and just seeing how, even still with those guys out of the lineup, like Kentucky didn't really look great. It took kind of a miracle comeback against LSU. So I'm going to go with Tennessee to win this game. Then moving on in the SEC, we have the 19th ranked Florida Gators, 12-5 on the year, head to the 10th ranked Vanderbilt Commodores, who are 16-1. This one's at 2 Eastern time on ESPN. So Vanderbilt suffered their first loss of the year at Texas during the weeks, but now, they try to look to return home after that loss and hopefully can right the ship here. On the Florida side, they're playing really well as late. You see their 5 losses, but 3-1 now in SEC play after losing their opener to Missouri, have really bounced back nice. The Gators led by Thomas Haw, averaging 17 points per game and 6 rebounds. And then Alex Condon with 14 points per game and 8 rebounds. So those twin tower duo for the Gators has really been a big difference. And then you have Boogie Flan, Xavier Lee, their guards, also in double figures, averaging 11 points per game, as well as Roman Chimulu with 11 points per game and 10 rebounds. So the bigs are definitely an advantage Florida in this one. The guards, I haven't been as impressed with. I wasn't super impressed with, but have been more impressed. They've been playing better lately. On the Vanderbilt side, they're led by Tyler Tanner and Nickel, as well as Duke Miles. They have 3 go-to guards, with Tanner and Miles averaging over 17 and then 14 from Nickel. As well as Tanner's averaging 5 assists per game and Miles with 4 assists as well. So that's where I think this one is really interesting. It's kind of a contrast to styles where Florida definitely has the better bigs. Vanderbilt, I think, definitely has the better guards. Efficiency-wise, these two teams pretty similar, both up there, in the teens, pretty efficient offenses, but then also efficient defenses as well. So that should be, a kind of good battle here back and forth. Both teams, shooting the ball at a pretty similar clip. Vandy slightly better at 49% to Florida's 47%, and then Vandy shoots the ball a lot better from beyond the arc, 37% to Florida's 29%. And that's where, this could be a big key in this one. And like I said, I do just really like Vandy's guards, where if they can get hot, have a big game, I think that definitely is advantage Vandy. However, if Florida's guards, if Lee and Flan can manage to have some big games of their own to kind of match that, and then Florida can, maybe kind of turn this into more of like a battle in the paint as opposed to a battle of shooting. However, Vandy is scoring there pretty well in the paint as well. But yeah, I just think overall scoring-wise, I do like Vanderbilt's ability more. I just don't think that Florida's guards can hang with them. So give me the Commodores to take this one. And then the final SEC game here on Saturday that we're going to preview, the 17th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks, 13-4 on the year, head to the 21st ranked Georgia Bulldogs, 14-3. This one's at 4 Eastern time on ESPN2. So Arkansas, nice win during the week after losing at Auburn last week and just getting absolutely blown out. And then on the Georgia side, they've been struggling a little bit as of late, losing against Ole Miss at home on a buzzer beater. As well as they lost their other SEC game against Florida. They almost gave away the game against Auburn too. So the Bulldogs haven't looked super great here in SEC play. Blue Kane, one of their go-to guards, averaging 14 per game, and then Wilkinson averaging nearly 18. On the Arkansas side, it's Darius Acuff, one of the more fun freshmen to watch. I feel like he doesn't really get as much shine, just because he's not on the same level as AJ DeBansa, all those kind of guys. But he's averaging nearly 20 points a game with 6 assists. And then Trayvon Brazile, is the big for the Razorbacks, their go-to guy, 13 points per game, and 6.7 rebounds. So looking here, efficiency, Arkansas, 5th most efficient offense here in the nation. So I think, they should be able to score the ball. Like I said, just with that, guard big duo in Acuff and Brazile, I think they're definitely the 2 best players on the court in this game. And I mean, you go down the line there, Malik Thomas averaging 15 points a game, DJ Wagner with 8, Carter Knox 8.6. Arkansas, I definitely think, has the more talented team. It's just Georgia has guys that play well together, but just looking at all these stats here, Arkansas shoots the ball better from beyond the arc, just better from the field in general, better from the free throw line. They just have pretty much every shooting stat. It's advantage Arkansas. So can Georgia's defense, maybe step up, take away the three a little bit? But even like looking at the stats here, like that's when Georgia's in possession here, it shows like Arkansas, like the advantage, they're the ones that do a better job taking away the three ball than Georgia. So I think Arkansas wins this one. It's projected to be a 1-point game. Arkansas getting the win. Like I said, I just think they're the better team. I think they have more talent. And Georgia, I just haven't really been super impressed with here in SEC play. So give me the Razorbacks in this one. Then moving on to the Big 12. This is the game of the night. The 11th ranked BYU Cougars, 16-1 on the year, head to the 15th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders, 13-4. This one's at 7 Eastern time on ESPN. This is one of the few ranked-on-ranked matchups we have here on Saturday. It's the only one here in the nightcap after that Georgia-Arkansas game. So BYU gets a scrappy win against TCU. The Horned Frogs, they fight. They should have won that game against Kansas. But they're not an easy test, but BYU takes care of them at home. And then Texas Tech just blows out Utah. It was a close game at points in the first half, but they really just turned it on late. On the Red Raiders side, they're led by Christian Anderson, JT Toppin. As you can see there, Toppin averaging 21 points per game, and Anderson with nearly 20 himself, plus 7 assists to go with that. And Toppin also going for 11 rebounds. I mean, those were their two go-to guys in the tournament last year, and they still are once again this year. Plus, then you throw in Atwell averaging 11 and L.J. Watts with over 13 as well and 6 rebounds. There's both a solid front court and back court here for the Red Raiders, but BYU has the same thing. AJ DeBanso, who I just mentioned, probably going to be the number one pick in the draft. He's averaging 23 points per game on nearly 4 assists and 7 rebounds, but he's not the only scorer. I mean, Richie Saunders has had a really good year shooting the ball. He's averaging nearly 20 points per game, as well as 5 rebounds. And then even Rob Wright has just been a really go-to guard for them, with 17 points on 5 assists. Plus, throw in Kenner Davis and Kiba Keita, they're both with 7 as well. Baker with averaging 7 off the bench. So these are two teams, like there's a lot of talent on both sides. I mean, I didn't even mention Petty for Texas Tech averaging 9 points per game. He's had games where he's the leading scorer for the Red Raiders. So these are two teams. BYU has the slightly more efficient offense and shoots the ball. Actually, like these two teams shoot the ball at a pretty similar clip, but BYU has the better defense. I mean, here Texas Tech's a better 3-point shooting team in this one. And in a game like this where, it's projected here to be neck and neck close game, that could be what is the difference. For me, what comes down to it, what I am kind of leaning in this one is BYU's just kind of got off to a lot of slow starts lately. And against a team as talented as Texas Tech, you can't do that. Especially just Texas Tech's ability to turn it on late in games. Because, like I said, BYU, I do think, turns it on later. But Texas Tech has that same ability. I mean, you look at the Duke game. Like, Texas Tech was dead to rights in that one. And then they end up coming back and winning it. Plus, just with this game being in Lubbock, I think this is going to be a really fun one. I could see it going either way. But I am going to go with Texas Tech as my pick in this one. Then moving on with some more night games. This one in the Big East, the 12-5 St. John's Red Storm head to the 14-3 Villanova Wildcats. This one's at 8 Eastern time on Peacock. So Villanova led by Bryce Lindsey, averaging 15 points per game, as well as Lewis averaging 12, and Hodge and Brennan and Perkins, all 5 of their starters in double digits. On the St. John's side, it's Osiah Sellers averaging 11 points per game. But Zuby Ejiofor is their go-to guy. Every St. John's preview, he's the guy I really highlight, averaging 16 points per game with 7 rebounds. Plus, then you throw in Bryce Hopkins here, averaging 13 points per game with 5 rebounds. Mitchell averaging 8 points per game with 6 rebounds. And then Ian Jackson also scoring in double digits. So, a lot of talent on both sides in this one. Efficiency-wise, these two teams are pretty similar. Villanova slightly more efficient offense. And then same thing, kind of field goal percentage. Pretty similar here, but St. John's is a lot better defense than Villanova. 137th for defensive field goal percentage against for Villanova, and then 39th for St. John's. So that's what I really think can be a key in this one. Can Ejiofor have a big game, kind of shut down some of these Villanova bigs and make it kind of be then a battle of the guards, which I still probably do like St. John's. That's kind of how it becomes. I mean, both these teams, they scored pretty similar clips from both, inside and outside the arc. So it's just games like that where these two teams are that even. I just kind of lean on whoever's the best player to kind of pull their team to the win. I think that's Zuby Ejiofor in this one. So give me St. John's, go on the road and take this. Then just a couple mid-major games here quick we'll look at. 14-3 New Mexico Lobos head to the 12-4 San Diego State Aztecs. This one's at 8 Eastern time on CBS Network. These are two teams, battling it out here for this second spot in the Mountain West. Utah State's kind of running away with the conference right now and is looking like the best team by far. But these two teams are tied here for second and should be a fun one here on Saturday night. Jaden Hall, the leader for New Mexico, averaging 14 points per game. And then on the San Diego State side, it's Reese Dixon Waters averaging 11 points per game. But then they also have Davis averaging 11 points. Davis is their leading scorer, and then Reese Dixon Waters right behind him. And then Miles Bird, also a double-digit scorer here for the Aztecs, as well as 10 in double digits on the Lobos side. So looking here at the efficiencies, New Mexico, the more efficient team scoring-wise, but San Diego State does have a very good defensive efficiency, but so does New Mexico. Both the defenses kind of outnumber the offense in that one. Looking at the shooting splits, pretty similar there. San Diego State had a slightly better clip, especially from beyond the arc. 21st in the country as opposed to 162nd from New Mexico. This is one, too. I just think home court plays a big factor and just the slightly better offense. But granted, I think this could be a pretty defensive game from what these stats are showing here. But I'm going to go with San Diego State, take this one at home. Then another mid-major one to feature, same thing, kind of the two teams competing for second place in their conference. 17-2 St. Mary's Gales head to the 15-5 Santa Clara Broncos. This one's at 7 Eastern time on ESPN+. This is, similar thing. Gonzaga running away with the West Coast Conference. I kind of always do. St. Mary's is the team that usually kind of gives them the most fits, but Santa Clara right there in it as well. Muraskauskas, the leader for St. Mary's with 19 points per game. On the Santa Clara side, it's Hammond going for 16 points. So efficiency-wise, St. Mary's the more efficient team. Both these teams pretty efficient offensively compared to the other team's defense. They shoot the ball pretty similar clips. St. Mary's a little bit more effective, and then really beyond the arcs where it's a big difference. St. Mary's shooting 40% from beyond the arc to Santa Clara's 53%, and then pretty similar inside ranking, stuff like that. Santa Clara, this is the big reason why I'm featuring this. Santa Clara is actually projected to win this one, and they've looked good. I've watched them, like they ran Xavier out of their own gym. They've had some nice wins, and I don't know, I kind of almost feel like this could be one where we're looking here, and it's almost kind of time for a new team to kind of take over that second spot here in the WCC, especially, with Gonzaga leaving next year, kind of looking to make their mark on the conference. But I don't know. I have been really impressed with what I've watched of St. Mary's, what I've seen from them this year. They're 9-1 on the year. As long as they can shoot the ball, like I said, if they have a cold shooting night, then I'm going to go with Santa Clara, but I'm going to go with St. Mary's. I think they, are able to score in this one just a little bit more than Santa Clara, so give me the Gales to take it. Then the only power conference ranked team we have in action here, or just ranked team in general we have in action on Sunday, we have the 10-7 Arizona State Sun Devils heading to the 7th ranked 16-1 Houston Cougars. This one's at 6:30 Eastern time on ESPN. So Arizona State actually did give Arizona a good game here on Wednesday. So now they face probably an even tougher test in the Big 12. Well, I wouldn't say that. Arizona's probably the tougher of the two teams. But both, another just really tough game. Houston ran West Virginia out of the gym. Really no problem for them in that one. Milos Uzan, the leader for the Cougars, averaging 11 points per game. But then you have Emmanuel Sharp and Kingston Flemings, who are also averaging 15 points per game. So actually, no, those two are the go-to guys, leading scorers. Plus, you have the big Chris Sinak averaging 9 points and 7.6 rebounds, as well as JoJo Tugler still there, 8 points per game and nearly 6 rebounds. On the Arizona side, Mo Odom, their leader, averaging 14 points per game with 6 assists. And then Masar Masap Diop with 14.7 points per game and 5.6 rebounds. So Houston here, most efficient defense in the country. That's why I say, it could potentially be a tougher test. It's just their defense is so good. Arizona also has a very good defense, but Houston's best in the country. Plus, they're just a lot more efficient offense. They shoot the ball. Actually, Arizona is the better shooting team field goal percentage-wise, but Houston better three-point shooting team. And like I said, there's just so much talent on this Houston side. Arizona State, like I said, gave Arizona a tough game, which I didn't necessarily see coming. So that's why, maybe they could do that again, but I don't know. That going on the road twice in the week, having to play, the gauntlet that is those two teams, I just think Houston probably ends up cruising in this one like the projections show. So then moving on here to the rest of the games here this week. Looking here at Friday, the other notable ones, Baylor heads to Kansas. Loyola Chicago, who's been struggling in the A-10, heading to Dayton. Marquette and DePaul, bottom teams here in the Big East, facing off. And then probably the mid-major game to watch, Colorado State at Boise. Boise's been struggling as of late, so definitely needs that win. Then moving on here to Saturday. Loaded slate per usual, like I said, Saturday, all about college basketball here going forward. Really excited for that. So looking at it here, UConn heading to Georgetown. UConn struggled a little bit with Seton Hall late in the game, so now another road test for them. We'll see how that goes. Butler heads to Seton Hall. Seton Hall needing to pick up a win after losing to UConn, especially here against a struggling Butler side. Alabama heading on the road to Oklahoma. Florida had no problem with Oklahoma during the week, so I don't really think Alabama should either, but you never know going on the road. Iowa State, second-ranked team in the country, after losing to Kansas, now has to head on the road again to Cincinnati. You'll see how that one goes. Bradley at Illinois State should be a fun MVC contest. Two rivals going at it at 2 Eastern on ESPN2. That could be a good one. Looking here down the list, at kind of the middle of the day, not as many ones. Then you got Arizona going on the road to UCF. UCF already upset Kansas this year. We'll see, can they take down another ranked team? You got a lot of ranked teams right there. Michigan heading to Oregon in that same time slot, as well as Nebraska heading to Northwestern. North Carolina going to Cal. They already lost at Stanford. Murray State, top team in the MVC, hosting Indiana State. Arkansas State at Troy could be a fun one. Some of the top teams there in the Sun Belt. Purdue heads to USC. Hazelmetrics actually had that one as like a pretty highly rated game to watch. Plus, teams going cross country. We'll see how that goes. Plus, same thing. Duke here heads to Stanford. Like I just mentioned, Stanford upset North Carolina. Can they get the double against Duke? Duke, takes down Cal. So they're looking to sweep the West Coast there. Texas A&M at Texas should be really fun when the two rivals. Plus Texas back-to-back upset wins for the Longhorns. Louisville heads to Pitt. It's part of the nightcap as well. Tough loss to Virginia during the week, plus just without Michael Brown, you never know. Gonzaga heading to Seattle to end the night could be a fun one as well. Seattle, took the Zags to overtime the first time they met, so we'll see how that they fare the second time around. And then just looking here quickly on Sunday, pretty slow slate. FAU at Temple could be a fun American contest. Penn State at Maryland, the only other power conference game here on Sunday. Milwaukee at Purdue Fort Wayne's a good Horizon League contest. You're kind of looking for something to watch for. The football games get going, and then just a couple American games. Washington State at San Francisco to round up the night. So not as high quality games. Definitely Saturday's a go-to day. But some fun ones here on Sunday as well. So that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing these videos, like I said, every Tuesday and Friday. My apologies for missing earlier this week after the Steelers stream on Monday. Just didn't get a chance to record. And yeah, make sure to, like I said, while you're down there, liking and subscribing to the video. Dropping your comments for the picks on these games. Like I said, I'm going to shout out some people, every video who get some correct picks. And then while you're down there, check out all my socials. So I've been streaming every Wednesday. I'm going to try to stream here Sunday night as well, kind of recapping these games. So check that out on Twitch. I'm always dropping my takes on Twitter. So make sure to check out all my socials so you know what I'm up to, what I'm watching. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.